You're listening to a podcast from The National.
Earlier caught up with Kawthar Bin Sulayem. She's the founder and CEO of KBS Communications. Not only is she a serial entrepreneur since the age of 8, but she's also a branding expert.
You've been an entrepreneur for a very long time, which implies, I guess, that you must be a very old lady. But you're not. You're extremely young. So you began your entrepreneurial endeavours at a very young age. I wonder if you can give us an inside story on how that began.
Well, as a child growing up, people around me were entrepreneurs themselves. And I always felt the need, not just the need, I always was inspired to be my own boss. So I actually took an opportunity. This was my first thing to do in business.
Mm-hmm.
Every Friday, my family will get together for Friday prayers and lunch. And after lunch, people were lazy to go out for a snack or a drink. And I was like, you know what? There's a potential for me to do something here. And what I did, I started buying nuts from the grocery store, packaging it into smaller portion, and selling it at an overpriced cost to my family
Perfect
members.
Entrepreneurship.
Yes, so I started all from there. And
how old are you when you had that idea?
I think I was around 8.
That's remarkable.
Yeah.
And
I made good money, so that's great.
So that gave you the incentive then, thinking if I can do it there, I can do it more or less.
With simple things too.
Yeah. And I think it's indicative of the feeling that's growing now here as well about entrepreneurship and about how, there are opportunities available if you look for them. You saw one very early on. And from that early business empire that you created, you moved into strategy, advising companies, and communications, and you sort of began seriously into that when you were older than 8, at the executive office of the UAE Vice President, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed Al Maktoum. You were responsible there for media, marketing, communications. How did that manifest itself? What was effectively your job? I
mean, obviously, when I started at such an important government entity, I started really junior. I worked myself up, so it wasn't something really easy to gain trust and to show what I'm capable of. So definitely, I worked really hard along other people within the organization, and to a point where I reached a level where I can be part of bigger projects. One of the projects that I'm very proud of is working with other government entities within the government of Dubai, to help rebrand and convey the message of Dubai. Yeah. And this was really interesting because our leadership had a vision of, showcasing or representing Dubai for everyone. And I think it's a perfect example of different organizations within the city coming together, identifying the opportunities, putting together the key messages, and, centralizing our communication strategy locally and globally.
So it was a very deliberate strategy to bring those elements together and present them to the world, and as you say, locally, on multi levels. From the point of view of family visitors, from the point of view of businesses, from the point of view of tourist operators,
startups, entrepreneurship, even retirement. There were a lot of opportunities, and also a lot of people had in the West, a different perception about the Middle East and the UAE. So we wanted to kind of showcase the opportunities available and how we all can be together, promoting this one great message.
And of course, it's an ongoing endeavor, isn't it?
Exactly. And to be honest, no one can deny this. Dubai became a landmark of the Middle East, and they've shown successfully how things could be done. And I think even for the region, this is a great thing in terms of strategy. They could learn, and we can exchange experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And from that gaining of experience, you then moved on to be basically the first national press officer for the inaugural Formula One Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, working also alongside the motorsport organisation FIA in Paris. Yeah. How did that come about, and what did you do? Are you interested in motorsport?
Yeah, I actually was I'm actually a fan of Formula One since I was 13 years old, so it was like a dream come true for me to be part of such amazing event. I used to attend races, before having this job. So when the opportunity came that I become part of a bigger team to deliver the Grand Prix, I definitely couldn't say no because it's a one-time experience. Yeah. And with my background in media and communication, it was just a perfect fit for me to look after journalists and reporters from all over the world. I was looking after 600 journalists representing different countries. we had to do a lot of educational campaigns for UAE media and even GCC media to educate them about single seat racing, and do exchange programs and even manage them on ground. So I think, Formula One and my time with the Yas Marina circuit, was really, really an interesting time because you could see the shift in the exposure for Abu Dhabi and how people started seriously considering Abu Dhabi as a destination.
From that, you gained so much experience in those earlier years. You then came to launch your own company, KBS Communications. When did you launch that, and what made you decide to go your own way, as it were?
So before actually starting KBS, I was approached by private companies like Airbus, JSK. They just needed help understanding the local market and how things work. And so I started as one person doing consultancy. And then in 2010, I decided that this was the perfect time to quit my job and focus 100% on the business and start building a team. Because, when I worked in the government, I had to deal with so many agencies from all over the world. And I realized that anyone can write a press release, anyone can put a communication plan, but really understanding the strategy, putting crisis communication in place, putting, ideas that can really reflect in the community. You have to really be embraced and you have to be within that community.
Absolutely. You've got to understand it from the inside out.
So I started KBS in the objective of, filling that gap that was in the market that even local and international companies couldn't compete with. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very happy right now.
And against many misconceptions, you were not given a huge load of money by either the state or by corporate backers. How did you get it off the ground in that case?
Honestly, I really believed in my business concept, and I knew that there's growth and potential. Working in the government, I used to travel a lot. I didn't have time. I was fortunate. I had a senior position. I had a good package. So I saved up a lot of money. But when I decided to start KBS, I actually refused to get any funding from any government entities or even from my own family who were interested in becoming partners. Because I really wanted to show people like me and people in my generation that with proper financial planning and management of your money, you can reach your dreams. And you don't have to depend on other people to help you reach your dreams. You can work towards it. So I started with my own funding, and I keep receiving offers of investment now, but I'm happy where I am, and I think other people can also do it.
What do you see as sort of the next 5 years for KBS? Do you see it expanding its footprint, or do you see it offering a wider range of service? Or what's your plans sort of for the next 5 years?
For now, we're very focused in this region, but our plan for the 10 years coming, focus more on expansion within Europe. We definitely have a lot of clients from Europe, and we would see how the business growth continues. And that's our plan, is to enter the European market with a base there. Beside the 10-year plan, we also have an expansion plan into diversifying our portfolio. So instead of KBS becoming just KBS Communication, it could be KBS Holding, and we have other business ventures underneath. We already started investing in other businesses, which is great, but we are taking baby steps, but we're going to get there.
Now, obviously, over your extensive career in communications, both for yourself and previously, you have gained a lot of experience in crisis management and reputational damage. Just to wrap on, I wonder if you might have some thoughts on the man who is currently, globally, probably the biggest PR disaster a major company has known. Of course, none other than the Tesla CEO, Elon Musk. I was wondering, can you give us an insight into how do you think the Tesla communications department might be feeling right now?
If I were them, I wouldn't be sleeping tonight. For sure, but I think the challenge that's facing Elon Musk at this stage. Let's face it, the tactics that he's using in his own personal PR is the same tactics that we see every day coming from the White House. Every day we have
remarkably similar.
It's the Roger Stone rule. Go for it. So I think the main issue for me evaluating the situation is that Elon Musk as an individual, as the brand face of these different companies, hasn't very clearly been separated from the day-to-day business of the 3-4 businesses he owns.
SpaceX and Boring Co. And
exactly. And I don't think a CEO should always be there defending himself. And I also don't think that, I think if you do something wrong, it's okay to go and just say and be transparent and say, I did a mistake and I apologize for it. But also at the same time, they don't have a proper plan in place. It looks like they just has to play catch up.
They just let him go and do whatever he wants to do.
Exactly. And not only that, like, I don't think he's empowering his executives in these businesses to take the lead, and take ownership of running the business day to day, including, managing that crisis. So your personal, personality, going out and talking about certain things, if they have the right PR team in-house or even as an agency, a lot of people put crisis communication strategy on paper. They look great, but when it comes to implementation, it's very hard.
Different ballgame. Yeah.
I think in this situation, because I worked with someone in the past who was very open-minded and, it's kind of similar, but not to this extent. You really need to know the person very well. Yeah. And you need to understand their personality and how they act and behave in specific location. Because when you are in that position, everyone wants to know who is with you at the film festival, what you're doing, who are you with in a car. You need to really, watch what you do, especially when the negativity or the impact of everything that comes out of your mouth can affect your employees, your company, and your customers.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, absolutely.
It's definitely something that I don't think they've figured out how to kind of, split the two. Yet he is the brand face.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Kawthar, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Welcome.
It's been fascinating, and maybe we ought to give Mr. Musk a ring.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's almost it for this episode of the Business Extra podcast. All that remains is to thank Chris Nelson. Thanks for being with us.
Pleasure, Mustafa.
And our producer, Kevin Jeffers, as always. Thank you all for listening, and join us again next time.